Sunday arrived, and with it a strange silence. The coffee cools on the table. The TV stays on to fill the void, but nothing makes sense. The absence weighs more than one wants to admit. Ignoring it seemed easier, pretending it was just another day, that the routine would continue normally, but it didn't. Everything feels different. The couch seems too big. The noise from the street is bothersome. The phone in hand, waiting for a message that doesn't come. The truth, the lack is palpable, not in a light and fleeting way, but in a way that tightens the chest and leaves a lump in the throat, in a way that makes one realize that nothing is the same without what was left behind. And now the question remains, is there still time to turn this around? Time passes, but the feeling doesn't go away. On the contrary, it grows. It takes over the body, the mind, every little pause between one thought and another. It's not just an annoying memory or a silent regret. It's something bigger, denser, impossible to ignore. The hours drag Sunday into the night, and the weight of absence becomes even more evident. The phone remains silent. No notifications, no sign that anything might change. The urge to write, to say something, comes and goes like a wave, strong enough to shake, but not enough to muster the courage to act. Because what to say? How to begin? Are there really words that can explain what has been stuck in the throat for so long? The mind flips through old scenes, moments that seemed ordinary but now carry a different meaning. The laughter in a silly conversation, the way the eyes lit up over simple things, the words spoken effortlessly, all of it felt eternal. But now, everything has become distant. And the worst part? There's no one to blame but oneself. The choices, the silences, the way you distanced yourself without realizing it. You thought there would always be time, that the days would resolve themselves. But they didn't. On the contrary, each one built a wall higher, colder, more impossible to climb. But what now? What do you do when the absence becomes unbearable? When the desire to return weighs more than pride? Time insists on moving forward, indifferent to the internal chaos. The words still haven't come, but the urgency is growing, because the truth is simple, raw, undeniable. Waiting another day could mean losing forever what already seems to slip through your fingers. And there lies the dilemma. Stay still, waiting for fate to fix what has been broken, or take the first step without guarantees, not knowing if there is still room to come back. The doubt weighs heavily on the chest, but deep down, the answer is already known. The silence of Sunday stretches into the early morning, the dark room, the ceiling fixed in a vacant gaze, heavy breathing. Sleep doesn't come, just the weight of what wasn't said. And then the phone is picked up once again, the name on the screen, the cursor blinking, no message sent, no certainty about what is going to happen. But now it's no longer possible to ignore it. The longing speaks louder, and the question hammers relentlessly. If this message is sent, will it be too late? Fingers hover over the screen. The name remains there, static, waiting for a decision. The cursor blinks as if challenging the hesitation. What to say? How to turn this restlessness into words without seeming weak, without seeming as though the absence has only now been felt? Because the truth is this, it only just hit me. Only now do I realize the size of the hole left behind. Before it was easy to ignore, to distract oneself with the routine, to push it off for later. But now in the silence of this early morning, there are no more distractions, no more excuses. The heart races, the fear of what may come in response, or worse, the fear of no response at all, paralyzes. But something needs to be done. The first draft appears on the screen. Something brief, straightforward. Awake, delete, rewrite. It's been a while since we last talked. How are you? Feels too artificial. It doesn't capture the urgency of what I want to say. One more try. I thought about you today. Actually, I've been thinking about you for a while. Better, more sincere, but still, it's not enough. Because this message doesn't carry the real weight of absence. It doesn't say that Sunday was a brutal reminder of everything that's been lost. The screen glows in the dark. Time passes, and nothing is sent. The fear of appearing vulnerable freezes any impulse. What if indifference waits on the other side? What if it's already too late? But what if it isn't? What if the silence on the other side is just a reflection of the same pride, the same doubt, the same hesitation? A deep breath. Fingers return to the screen. This time, no beating around the bush. Is it too late to try to fix what's broken? To send or not to send? My heart races. The mind says to wait, to think it through. But thinking it through hasn't led to anything but empty nights and silent Sundays. Not giving myself any more time to hesitate, the message is sent. The phone is tossed aside. Regret comes immediately, but there's no turning back now. All that's left is to wait. Seconds seem to drag on. Sleep, which was already scarce, becomes impossible. My gaze returns to the screen, hoping for a sign of life, an indication that I haven't been ignored. Nothing. Minutes pass, then an hour. Time slips by slowly, and uncertainty grows. What does this silence mean? Lack of interest? Anger? Or simply surprise? Dawn turns into morning. Tired eyes, heavy body. Still no response. And then, when I no longer expect anything, the screen lights up. A reply. My heart races. Now the hesitation is on the other side. The message is read, but the response takes its time. What comes next? My finger glides over the screen, breath caught in my chest. And then, finally, the words appear. The truth? I thought about you too. What does that mean? Is there still a way back? Or is this response just an echo of longing, with no promise of a fresh start? The eyes scan the message over and over. The words are few, but they carry a weight that can't be ignored. The truth? I thought about you too. What does that mean? Is it an invitation to continue, or just a reflection of the same longing that filled the entire Sunday, offering nothing more than a memory? A finger glides over the screen, ready to respond, but hesitation returns. What to say now? What to do with this opening that could be everything or nothing? The mind races back to the past, to the moments that led up to this point, to the interrupted conversations, the poorly explained silences, to the time that stretched on until it became this chasm. But now something has changed. There was a response, a sign, a decision has to be made. I wish I had spoken up sooner, but I always thought it was too late. Send. Wait. The typing bubble pops up on the screen. The heart races. Maybe it was late, maybe it wasn't. Ambiguous, unfathomable, a thread of hope or a warning. Breath catches. Thoughts spin in circles. And now, the urge to clarify everything at once, to pour out every regret, to explain every silence grows stronger. But there's fear. Fear of drowning any chance of reconnection with too many words, of making another mistake. So, the response comes contained, yet honest. What would it take to not be too late? Send. Time is now an enemy. Seconds feel like hours, an unbearable weight. The reply comes faster than before. I don't know, but if it really mattered, I would have tried sooner. The blow is direct, a truth that hurts, but one that was expected. And maybe it's fair. Because time passed, and absence came at a cost. But then, another message. But if it still matters, maybe it's time to prove it. It's a challenge, an ajar door with no guarantees at all. Now what to do? Talking is easy, but after so much time, words alone aren't enough. Action is required, but what will the next step be? The weight of the last message hangs in the air. But if it still matters, maybe it's time to prove it. Prove. The word resonates in the mind, sinks in the chest, demanding an answer that goes beyond empty promises. But what does it mean to prove? What would be enough to bridge this distance that time has built? The instinct is to type quickly, to say everything, to explain every absence, to justify every silence. But it's no longer about words. There's no room for rehearsed speeches or regrets without action. The phone remains in hand, but the desire now is no longer to write. Something needs to be done. Hesitation creeps in, but it's ignored. Pride can no longer be an obstacle. The fear of what's to come must be smaller than the certainty that not trying would be the biggest mistake. The impulse leads to movement. Getting out of bed, grabbing the keys, leaving without overthinking it. The route is familiar, but it never felt so long. With every red light, doubt resurfaces. What if it's a mistake? What if the answer was already given silently? What if the arrival is too late, but it's too late to turn back? Each step weighs heavily upon arrival. The place is familiar, but now it carries a different feeling. There are no certainties. Just the hope that there's still room to rebuild what was left behind. The doorbell is a boundary between the past and what could happen now. The ring sounds louder than it should, more definitive than expected. Eternal seconds. The sound of footsteps from the other side. The door opens. Eyes meet. No words are spoken immediately. Just a thick silence laden with everything that has been trapped for so long. Then a sigh. A gaze that measures, that evaluates, that tries to understand if there's sincerity in the decision to be there. The question doesn't come in words, but it's palpable in the air. So now what? What do you have to prove? The moment is fragile, unstable. It could be a second chance, or it could be the confirmation that time has truly taken everything away. But one thing is clear. Now it's not about thinking anymore. It's time to act. And the question that really matters now isn't about what has been lost, but rather, what can still be saved? The gaze is fixed, intense, as if searching for an answer without needing to ask. No words, no impulsive gestures, just the weight of presence after so much time. The air feels heavier. The heart pounds, the whole body acutely aware of the uncertainty in that moment. Is there space for rebuilding, or has all that's left been mere longing and memories? The eyes on the other side don't look away, they assess, they test, as if they're trying to understand what it truly means to be here at the door without warnings, without cheap justifications. And then, at last, a reaction, a small movement, a sigh, the hesitation on the lips before the words emerge. Do you really think just showing up changes anything? The question is a blow, but it's an expected blow. There's no surprise, only the confirmation that being here isn't enough. What to say in response? Deny it? Justify it? No. No excuse would be strong enough to erase the lost time. So the only choice is truth. I don't know if it changes anything, but I know I couldn't keep ignoring it any longer. The gaze on the other side falters for a second. There's no anger, no relief, just a mix of exhaustion and distrust. And what do you expect now? The question carries weight. It's not a free chance, it's a challenge. What to say in response? Ask for forgiveness. Ask to go back? No. Not yet. There's still no space for that. I want you to tell me if there's still something to save. The answer comes as a surprise. A moment of silence, a moment that speaks volumes more than any words. If the answer had been no, it would have already been said. It would have been sealed with a cold glance and a door shut tight. But the answer hasn't come. The breathing on the other side changes. The gaze briefly averts as if searching within for something that isn't even clear there. And then, the voice finally emerges, softer, almost unsure. I don't know. 3 words. A glimmer of hope. It's not a yes. But more importantly, it's not a no. Now, the next step doesn't just depend on words. What comes next needs to be different. Because I don't know isn't a definitive answer. But it is a chance. And the question that hangs in the air now is, what will be done with it? The I don't know echoes in the silence between the two. It's not a cut, but it's also not an invitation. It's uncharted territory, a fine line between what has been lost and what might perhaps be rebuilt. The gaze from the other side continues to analyze, waiting for a real reason to continue this conversation. There's no more room for empty promises, for words spoken in the heat of the moment that later lose their meaning. The heart tightens. Pride urges retreat, to avoid another blow if the final answer is negative. But that option no longer exists, because running away is what brought us here. The voice comes out stronger than expected. I don't expect the answer to come now. I don't even know if I deserve for it to come, but if there's any possibility that something still exists, I want to fight for that. A pause. The look from the other side hardens. Fight how? Now? After all this time? Just because nostalgia hit? The weight of the question is real, because deep down that's the big issue. Is this about a momentary regret, or about something that should never have been left behind? Silence stretches. Care is needed now. This is about realizing that, even without intending to, I let something important slip away, and understanding that some absences hurt more than one imagines. The response has an impact. The other person's gaze doesn't waver, but something about them changes. And what do you want me to do with that? Another tough question, because the right answer doesn't exist, because nothing can force a feeling that isn't already there. But there is one truth that can be stated now. I want you to tell me what you need to believe that I'm not here just because of a moment of weakness. The other person takes a deep breath. There's a fatigue in their eyes, a weight in the words that follow. I don't know, but if it's real, you'll have to show me. And there lies the ultimate challenge. Words are no longer enough. Now, everything depends on actions. And the silent question hanging in the air is there courage to follow through to the end? Now only actions can prove if there's still something worth saving. Have you been through this? Share your thoughts, leave a like, and subscribe.